the theory of the underdetermination of data.
Right.
You cannot validate your scientific paradigm as true from the observations and data and evidence. Because, so for example, you have theory A, B, and C, and they're all different. And here is the sense world of sense data. All of this here, the empirical world, will equally verify A as much as it will B as it will C. I find no good reasons or evidence, therefore, because of the underdetermination of data, to believe in A or B. So Hitchens can make an argument. I don't have to disprove. I don't have to prove that God doesn't exist. What I'm saying, I don't see any good evidence or reasons.
It's a non sequitur.
I can explain all of this here without God. I can explain it with C or B.
Right. So in other words, all Hitchens has to do is say that I don't have to prove my atheism. All I have to do is show William Lane Craig, on your grounds, your position is a non sequitur. It doesn't follow on the basis of all of this data that your story that tells and explains the data is the only option. Couldn't there be more data that we'll learn in the future that better explains from a naturalistic standpoint? I mean, William Lane Craig, once he's interjected probabilism, he's admitted that. Unless you want to go in the direction of transcendental arguments and presuppositionalism and question paradigms, there's nothing prima facie that tells me which paradigm explains this data correct.
So he was saying, from these individual experiences we come up, but how that just pretends that experiences can actually just be experiences qua experience, would actually be contaminated by other beliefs. And therefore, that is some sort of justification. I call it the cognitive penetration argument.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point that none of the beliefs that we have are actually properly basic from this perspective. Assuming that certain things are properly basic, we're asking, how do you know that? And the appeal is, well, but they're foundational and basic, right? Because they underlie the experience. There's no way to prove them, so they're properly basic. Well, then how do we know that they're the case? Well, we don't.
And since, admittedly, there are no reasons behind that, there's no reason to have P be a properly basic belief for you, as opposed to not P.
Exactly.
Therefore,
that's a great argument. Yeah. Here's the list that we have. And myth of the given, this argument assumes that some objects just have a givenness to them, a wholly present nature to them, that through your sense data, you just have this one-to-one kind of correspondence that objects are as they are presented, right? The external world, oddly enough, which Craig said cannot be proven, there's no properly basic beliefs. And now you might think underdetermination of data doesn't really apply here because this is philosophy. Well, actually, didn't you hear him appealing to a lot of scientific data and claims? Now, if you're an empiricist, if you're a foundationalist, how do you know which narrative, which story best interprets the classes of data? You don't, right? So in other words, it's just another assumption that the position, when it appeals to the scientific data, that data has the right interpretation of the facts. And that's another thing that can't be proven empirically. It has to be assumed. And many other things could be listed as well.